You know, usually when I go into to do a project, I don't ask too many questions. You know, I just ask who's playing, and then what the idea is, what direction we're going to go. Because I'm a stickler for, you know, no rehearsal at all. I don't like rehearsals because you lose the spontaneity, you know, when you're out there.
You were a member of the Sons of Hawaii. You've worked with other groups of musicians, including groups with your son.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, where did the experience of working with Amy Gilliam and the Slacky Masters fit in with? How did you put that together?
Well, this particular album was the first one that nobody was the top producer. We all sit down, we all go into the recording booth and listen to the playback. And if anybody had an idea, they just throw it out, you know, and say, okay, let's try it, you know. So we were broken down into trios and quartets and stuff like that. And, you know, just a work of love. And then what came out was magic. You know, it was like, wow, we had all these minds. We used everybody's talent. And whatever idea was, it was probably, for me, it was the most fun album I ever did. Because it wasn't just one overall idea, one direction. Several we tried, and to see what worked out the best. So with this album with Amy, well, the whole idea came up because of Jeff Peterson. You know, Jeff wanted to focus our talents into an album that we could present to the Grammys. You know, and I said, oh, let's go. You know, and Cyril Painu was actually Cyril's the first, and then he called me and said, "Are you going to do it?" I said, "Let's do it. You know, let's see whatever happens in the studio." I think the only worry was that, you know, first time working together, you don't know if everything's going to click. You know, I didn't have to worry about that. I think from the first song I recorded in the studio solo, and then they add everything else later, you know, and then I come in and I go, wow, this sounds great, you know. I mean, everybody had the same vibes, you know, on how to approach this album. So I think, to me, you know, having the opportunity to play with, you know, my cousin Amy and the rest of the musicians on this album, and other musicians that I've collaborated with, you know, even with Led, we never made an album together, but probably that's in the future. You know, I love it. You know, I like to bounce ideas, and you know how we can go into a studio, have ideas, and just put it all together, and it comes out as an album. I don't care much when you go into a studio and somebody's telling you, well, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to do. You know? I like the music to be created, you know, as we're going. And I think after all these years in business, that's the only way to approach it. It's a fresh approach, you know. So it doesn't matter how old you are. You could be a young musician coming with an idea. Okay, let's try it. And then, you know, we listen. And it's like a board meeting, right? You know, you listen, you sit there, everybody has a vote, you know, whether or not, you know, this is going to go on. And that's the way I like to work now.
We don't want to overlook the fact that you have another album that's a Hoku Award finalist.
Yeah.
The Kona album, and that's a compilation, but it's a compilation that has a theme.
Yeah, you know, I was invited
Yep.
on that album because, you know, Aaron Mahi and I, we both graduated together from Kamehameha. And he was always like a brother. You know, we were very close in school. And that's all we talked about, is music every day. But he was the one that invited me. He said, hey, we're going to do a Kona album. I said, oh, that's great. And he said, we want to use Who I Will Lie. And I went, oh, okay. But we don't have anybody to sing it. Would you like to come and sing it? Sing on it? And I said, oh, okay. So it was his idea. He said, I want you to do it solo. I said, okay. So we went in there. We did set up the recording. And one take, that was it. And then, of course, Dave Tuchero was a recording engineer. And I've worked with Dave so many times. He knows, you know, so the producer's there. He's a good friend of Aaron's, and the other co-producer is from Japan. And they just couldn't believe. I said, oh, they were expecting big, you know, studio time. I said, no. I said, when I go in the studio, it's already rehearsed. We're ready to go. You know, and I think that's what I instill in my students who I teach here. Yeah, I said, you know, the studio is no place to rehearse. The studio is to get your idea down already and forever, you know, record it. So you do your rehearsals outside. Yeah. Even when you go do your gigs, you know, if you have a gig, you know, that's what you rehearse. That's what you rehearse. So that when you get into the studio, boom, 2, 3 takes, you're out of it. Yeah. Because the more time you're in front of that recording mic and trying to get the perfect recording, you're going to lose it. You know, and that's why sometimes you hear recordings that are overproduced. You know, because they're trying to get it so perfect. And I learned that from George Winston when I used to record with Dancing Cat and Howard Johnson, who taught me that what are we after? We're after perfection or the feel of the song. And boy, that turned my thinking around. Yeah, you can be in the studio forever to get perfection, but the feel of a song, even though not perfect, maybe that makes it become popular.
But Dennis, you mentioned that this is the start of a very busy time of year for you. You're going to be traveling a lot. Will you be going up to the Pacific Northwest, or where will you be going?
Well, in June I'll be mostly traveling to the outer islands, and then July 16th and 17th, I'll be at the Vancouver Folk Music Festival, and we'll be playing there. And then in September, we go back to the West Coast, Pacific Northwest, Seattle, and then back up to Vancouver Island. And we'll be doing concerts there. And then in October, I'm down in the Bay Area, Sacramento, Santa Cruz. And in November, I just got, I'm back up to Seattle, so we seem to be concentrating all on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other thing, maybe you can tell me a little bit about the songs that you're writing, the 4 songs for Ka'u.
You know, for a long time, you know, composers have writer's block, just like authors do, right? And so I've always told my students, because I teach songwriting, I said, when you reach a block, don't think about it. Don't think about the song. Do anything else to get your mind out of that area. So yeah, I usually say, well, go fishing, go bowling, you know, do anything else. You know, I golf, yes, so I go golfing. But for the longest time, I was always thinking about writing songs for Ka'u, yeah, on the Big Island. And you know, sometimes if you read about like these classical composers like Beethoven, you know, he took years, right, you know, to get all these ideas together to write one symphony. You know, so I said, gee, I don't want to be like a Beethoven because I don't have that much time, you know. But as I thought about it, it all happened like last week, you know, and it just hit me. I said, hey, I got this idea for a song. So I started writing, and the first song I wrote, I said, well, where should I write about? So I said, well, why don't I write about, I've written about every other island except for the Big Island. And I said, except for one song for the Big Island. And there was only Kona. I said, I wanted to write about an area where I'm going to be in maybe the next 4 or 5 years. So I started thinking, what about Ka'u, the Ka'u district of the Big Island, because that's where my home is going to be. And I started thinking and reading an essay by Kay De Silva that described a song that Eddie Kamai and my teacher Kabena Pukui collaborated on about her childhood days in Ka'u, and when they went on a jeep ride. That got me thinking. I said, you know, I should write a song just like that, because every time I go to Ka'u, I'm passing through areas that really interest me, you know, and you stop and you know, you go find out about the place. The first place I remember when I was traveling through that area was Kapapala Ranch, and it was through the memories of that I started putting down all these verses. I said, okay, from Kapapala, you go down to Pahala, and Pahala to Punalu'u, Punalu'u to Na'alehu, Waiohin. Yeah. And eventually we're going to live in Na'alehu. But see, all these verses tells you, it actually is telling you the story, like maybe 10 or 15 years gaps between each, of how, what each place that I went to affected me. And I finally finished. We had like 7 verses on the one song. And then 3 other songs popped up. I just finished one called Ku'ukika, which talks about Kihualu, and how in the evening when I play my guitar, it's like how I, instead of praying, I play. So I play my music for the aku, right? So that was the last song I just finished, like Ku'ukika. But all those songs were inspired by thinking about my future.